So hello everybody, thank you very much for joining me. This is very, very exciting. So for those that don't kind of know, I've now been working with Georgie for the last sort of 4 years now, which just feels like it's gone in a heartbeat. But one of the things that I do, and one of the things that Georgie kind of wanted support with is my background before I became a private therapist myself was actually in learning and development, and I specialised in e-learning. So I worked for about 10 years with corporate companies in producing kind of online content in terms of learning and learning pieces and those sorts of things. So when I then became a private therapist myself, which I started up my business in 2011, kind of using technology and creating online pieces was something that I just naturally did because I had that expertise. And I guess what happened when I started at Georgie's was she was doing the training then in person. She had elderly relatives and things like that and was traveling all over the country. And I said, oh, why don't you move it online? And like many people, when they start online, there's kind of this, oh, don't really know how that's going to work or don't quite know what to do. So my experience in doing that and creating online content kind of added to what you now have in terms of the practitioner training and the patient course and things like that. In my own private practice, I have been offering online courses as well, and these last probably about 6 months, I think, maybe a bit more. I have actually been helping other therapists in helping them to understand the world of online learning and helping to understand what the opportunities are. And I think, especially now, kind of with this whole pandemic thing that's happened, a lot more people have sort of said, can you help me? Because all of a sudden they need to look at different ways to earn money. The way that I come at it is quite unique in the fact that when I was at the corporate companies, I used to specialize in blended learning, which is about not saying there's one specific piece. It's more like saying that there's different pieces for different reasons, and you create this kind of blended learning approach where you use different technologies and different functions. And that lends itself very well to our world in terms of what you can offer and how you can offer it. And I think that the online world has just exploded in such a way that now the technology is really a lot more intuitive and a lot more simple to use. When I was back in my corporate job, I remember paying £300 for one video. Back then, and now you just kind of set up your phone and you can crack out a video without too much of a problem. So the world has changed, but I appreciate that the world has changed, but that also creates more problems in terms of, well, what do I create and how do I create it? So then people have been creating things, if you like, and they don't necessarily understand why they're creating them or what they're doing. So for a little while now, I've wanted to create a kind of process, put it into some kind of tool, some kind of easy to understand version that I can help people with, to help them understand what they're creating and why they're creating it. And I guess that leads me on to what I'm going to do today. Now, this is something that I have done in this last couple of weeks. So one of the things that I would absolutely love is if at the end of this you could kind of, share your questions with me and ask me, does this make sense to you? Is it easy to understand, or is the bits that you think, no, that's confusing, or she's missed out that bit? Because I've been doing it for so long that I just presume quite a lot of things, and it'd be really nice to get some feedback from people who aren't as experienced to kind of, you probably point out the things that I've missed or the things that I've assumed that you need to know. So feedback at the end would be much appreciated. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay. So, how to take your business online. The first thing that I'm going to go through with you is what's the mistakes that people currently make? And this isn't just what I see kind of outward from looking at the world of therapists and people who make great differences in the world, but it's also what I did for so long. I think it's a very natural thing to do, and it causes quite a lot of problems and issues, and I'll go through what it is that people are doing and why it is that that causes challenges and issues. And then I'll go through with you what I call my strategy funnel, which is basically 4 steps, but it's making it easy to understand what are you doing, what do you want to create, and why are you creating it, and kind of that way we can make something that's really effective. So that's what we're going to go through. So this is what most people do, and like I said, that includes me. This is what I've done for many years, and then realized that it doesn't work. So let me kind of move all your heads. So the first thing is that over here we have these people, and this represents the world. So this is effectively, we have a world, and we have a world full of people. And then over here you have your business. And usually within our worlds, we start off by saying, okay, I'm going to offer one-to-one services, so I'll create some kind of conversation or some kind of free consultation, or maybe it's a paid consultation, but some kind of way that people are going to start getting to know me. And then on the back of that, I'm going to have one-to-one services, which is a physical therapy. They're going to, book in, come to a room, and I'm going to serve them these one-to-one services. Then what happens is you start looking at how to market your practice. You start looking at what are other people doing, and how does that work? So then what happens is you kind of want to take your business and give it to the world. And some of the questions are kind of, this is my service, do you want this? Or, I've done this in the past, how about this thing? And we're almost kind of taking that business, taking those services and saying, I can help you with this, come on world, come to me in my business. So then you go on and you think, how can I do this better? How can I get more clients? And the first thing that people usually look at is they go to some marketing seminar or workshop or something, and there's loads of people that are doing a freebie on their website. So you think, right, what I'll do is I'll create a freebie on my website. You try and figure out how you do that. You eventually do that. You have this freebie on your website that you then go out to people and say, hey, have this freebie. But then we're going, yeah, but I'm not really getting many clients. So then you think, actually, loads of people are doing Facebook groups and they're really popular. So let's set up a Facebook group. So you set up a Facebook group, and then you're kind of, getting people to like the group. So you might go on your social media and be like, hey, join my group kind of thing. But then you go on another training course and you think, do you know what? This online world is brilliant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using Zoom or Skype, and I'm going to start offering my one-to-one services online, if that's appropriate in terms of what you do, especially if you've added kind of the surplus stuff to your work. And then you think, actually, all of this knowledge that I've got loads and loads of knowledge. I know loads and loads of stuff. So I'm going to create an online course. And you go off and you try and find out how to create an online course, and you go in and then you create you put all of your knowledge and all of that content into an online course. Then you go out to the world saying, hey, I've got this online course. What happens then is that online course doesn't get picked up by many people, and it usually sits on a shelf not being actually sold. Then somebody says, but webinars are a great thing. You could do these kind of live webinars with people. Great. So you think, right, what can I do a webinar about? I know, I'll talk about chronic pain, and I'll do a webinar about that. So you go out to people saying, I've got a webinar. Do you want to join the webinar? Come along. This is the free thing. And then you go, hang on, other people are saying these online challenges are really great. These kind of join me for 5 days and we'll do like tips over 5 days or something, or these kind of 100-day happiness or gratitude challenges and things like that. You think, great, I'm going to do one of those. So you start doing an online challenge. That's quite normal in terms of what people do and what I see so much of. But there's a challenge that comes with this way of building a business and this way of taking your business online. And there's a few. let me just admit Maeve. So the challenges are system overwhelm. So because we've built the business in this way, you end up quite with system overwhelm. You end up with different systems all doing different things. You end up with some people over here and some people over here and some people in that pot and some people over here, and you're thinking, oh God, I can't, what's all these systems and how do I get them all? They just don't talk to each other. It leads to a lot of wasted time and money, because each thing you've got to learn how to do. So you learn how to do a Zoom call, you learn how to do an online course, you learn how to do a freebie, you learn how to do a webinar, and all of those things take time, they take effort, and they do take money. So you end up with little pots of people all over the place, spending a lot of money and a lot of time. And that leads to the next thing, but not getting very many customers. So you feel like you're a busy fool. You feel like you're doing all of this stuff, but you're not really getting the customers into your business that you want. It leads to lots and lots of pricing and marketing queries. So the biggest things that I see on kind of groups and professionals and therapists asking is, how do I market my business, and what do I do in terms of how do I price things? And the reason it leads to so many of those questions is because effectively, as you saw on the previous image, you're kind of creating all these different things as your business, and then there's an extra question of, okay, but how do I get those things over to the world of people? And because of that, there's so many queries about marketing your practice, and how do you price all of these different things, and it's really confusing, and ultimately it leads to burnout, because you end up a busy fool. You end up trying to spin all these plates, and it doesn't feel very effective, so you end up kind of trying to spin more plates, and ending up kind of running around like a crazy fool. So I see it so much, and it's not effective. So this is my strategy funnel, my kind of answer to that, in terms of, okay, so if I'm not going to do that, then what am I going to do instead? Let me just stop sharing for a second. Before I go on to kind of my strategy funnel and kind of what you would do instead, if you could, no matter where if you're on a laptop, if you hover over the bottom as a chat box, if you're on a phone or an iPad, if you press the screen, the chat box comes up. I'd just like to know, does what I've just shared with you, does that resonate with you? Do you feel like that? Is that what you're doing? Is that what happens to you? Kind of, am I on the right lines? Just kind of use the chat function and, you know, let me know if that resonates with you, so I know that, you know, I'm not talking. Okay. Yeah, just give you a couple of minutes, and then you can all read the chat as well. I think it's really good to know that it's not just you, that other people do exactly the same thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's where people start off. I think it's that point that people begin to take their business online, and that's exactly what they do. They then say, what about this, and what about that, and what about that? Yeah, tried loads of different marketing strategies, completely get that. You kind of go out and you go, right, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try that. You try this for a little while, and then that doesn't work, so you think, oh God, try something else, and you just end up in a bit of a pickle. And it feels very fragmented, feels like, you know, it's unstructured and you don't know what you're doing. So, okay, great, we are talking the same language. Okay, so what do we do instead? I'm breaking it down for you. So this strategy funnel has 4 bits. By the way, we're recording this, so by all means make notes, but if you do want to come back to this and revisit it, then you're more than welcome to it, because I do appreciate that there's quite a bit in here. So this is my strategy funnel. Don't just love my lovely ways of building things, very, very basic. But anyway, so number 1, at the bottom down here, we've got foundations. And what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to go through each of these 4 in more detail. So we're going to build it up as we go, so it makes more sense. So the first thing that we've got is foundations. And I think this is where people stumble. They don't go back to the foundations and decide those first. So we'll go through those to make sure that you've had a look at them. The second one is in the environment. We need to have a look at that in a little bit more detail and give you some structure so that you can then hone in on the environment that you're going to create. The third one is about structure in the middle. So it's about saying within your business, what's the structure that you're going to create? And the fourth one is kind of topping all of that off, giving it a roof. And so many people kind of miss that off. They do the structure bit, but they don't actually kind of put the roof on. They don't kind of finish it off. So we'll talk through each of these as we go through. Okay, so the first one is, sorry, I just keep popping into chat just to check you're all okay. So if you do need me for anything, just put it in there and I'll keep having a look. So the first one is our foundations. The first thing is about your passion. It's about why are you doing this? And so many people don't connect with that to start off with. So why do you care? What is it in the world that gets you going? And even like, we're all Serba practitioners, so technically we're all interested in chronic pain, fine, but that world is there's so much scope within that to say, what is it that you care about? And ultimately your business, when you're working in these businesses, it takes your motivation, it takes your passion, it takes your energy to get up every day and do something. And if you don't have a connection to why it is that you're doing it, or what it is that makes you give a damn in the world, you just end up doing a load of stuff and not really feeling like it's purposeful or it matters. So you've got to connect to, why do you care? Like, what's the thing that makes you angry? What's the thing that you see in the world and you go, oh, I wish that was different. I want to make a difference. I want to do something here that does something that matters. And you could do that for a particular thing. So you might turn around and say, oh, do you know what really gets my goat? You know, fibromyalgia sufferers get forgotten. They don't have that kind of support that they should have. Or it might be, you know, I get really annoyed because so many people are doing something this way, and that's not the way that I want to do it. And so many people go in and say, this is what is currently happening and I need to fit in with what's currently happening. They don't think about, you know, their own passion, their own version, their own way of doing something. And that really is your foundation, because everything that you're going to create, you want it to be oozing with your points, your passions, your part of the puzzle. And it's really important to kind of sit and think, you know, what makes you want to be part of this? What makes you passionate about what it is that you want to do? The second one is time and money. Now this is such a big point for so many people. They've never sat down and said, okay, how much money do you want to earn and how many hours a week do you want to work? Because you could create online content in so many different ways and so many different pieces that you could end up creating a whole load of stuff that doesn't actually match how many hours you want to work and how much money you want to make. And everything takes time. So if you're going to create a Facebook group, for example, to make a really good Facebook group, you have to spend time in the Facebook group. That takes time. It takes your energy, it takes your effort. And if that doesn't match in terms of the time and the money that you want, you end up being a very busy fool, because you end up creating things, they take up a whole load of your time, and they're not matching in terms of the money and the time that you want to make. You can create things in a way, in lots and lots of different ways. And the way that you come up with what you're going to create is, how much money do I want to make and how much time in a week do I want to spend doing this? So if you turn around to me and say, do you know what, hand on heart, I want to make £30,000 a year and I want to work 4 hours a week, that's fine, because we'd create the products that make that amount of money for that amount of effort. But we can't do that if you haven't kind of put your stake in the ground and said, this is the money that I want to earn and this is the time that I want to spend doing this. The last one is your preferred style. So you can create online content in loads and loads and loads of different ways. Why do it in a way that you don't like? Like, do the things that you like. Like, if you are a person who naturally loves writing, then let's build in your business the opportunity to write. If you're the kind of person who loves, speaking, then let's build it into your business that you get to do lots of speaking. If you're the kind of person whose preferred style, you're quite introvert, then don't build a style in your business that requires you to be this massive extrovert, because you're going to hate it and then you're not going to be motivated to do it. So really look at, what do you like? And there is a point here about pushing yourself out your comfort zone and trying something new. But there's a difference between deciding that you're going to try one thing new that's slightly outside of your comfort zone, and designing a business that's completely not what you like to do, because you go, oh, do you know what? That's what other people are doing. And then every day you get up and hate it and you don't do any of it. And then I get questions about procrastination. Well, you're procrastinating because you don't flipping like it. So look at what your preferred style is and think, what is it that I like doing? What is it, the way in which that I like doing it? Because then when we start creating your structure, you can create that in a way that's within your preferred style and you find it motivating and fun, rather than, oh gosh, I've got to go and do this thing that I bloody hate. Okay, so that's foundations. We want to look at why you care. What is it that gets you going? Why are you passionate? We want to look at the amount of time you want to spend. We want to look at the amount of money you want to make, and we want to look at what do you like, and what's your preferred way of operating. So that's foundations. The next one is environment. So we're going to keep the foundations here at the bottom because it's important that we then match these two together. Everything within this strategy funnel is like a jigsaw. It all needs to match up in order for you to make it a really successful thing. So environment. So we've got a world of people. And there's umpteen billion people in this world. There's a hell of a lot of people. So we want to say, there is no point at all in creating something and then just going out to people and saying, do you want it? Because it costs you a hell of a lot of money to market to people. So we want to say, if you've got 50 quid to spend, for example, on marketing, and you go out to that world and you say, hey, I've got this thing, do you want it? 50 quid is going to be a drop in a pond for billions of people. You're just not going to get anybody who actually connects, who actually buys, who it deals with. You really need a marketing budget in the hundreds of thousands of pounds if you're going to go out to a large market. That's the only way that you can make that work. And you know, forgive me, but I don't think any of us have £100,000 to spend on our marketing. So what we need to do is we want to look at the environment and we want to say, okay, how do I make it smaller so that I know exactly who I'm targeting, why I'm targeting them, and the way in which I'm targeting them? And those three questions match these three things. So first of all, you want to look at the market. What is currently available in the market? What is currently out there for the people that you're trying to connect with? Because it might be that you say, do you know what, there is loads and loads of people offering this kind of service, but there's nobody doing it this way. And that's the gap in the market. So if you look at the world of weight loss, for example, you know, Weight Watchers didn't just do what everyone else did. Weight Watchers looked at the market and said, hang on a minute, there's a load of people here with a little bit of money to spend who want regular support. Let's do something that's a weekly meeting and it's a £5 or whatever it is. That's what we're going to create, because that's something that's missing in the marketplace. So many people that I see in terms of therapists, they go out with something that's because that's what everyone else is doing. Or they procrastinate because they say, well, everyone else is doing that, so what do I do? What's my, what's the point in me creating an online program because everyone else is doing an online program? They just go and choose Georgie's, or they just go and choose Alan Abbass's, or they just go and choose someone else's. So why would I bother? And that leads to a point where you sit there kind of not creating anything. And the idea is, look at the market as a whole and say, okay, what's out there for these people? And is there something missing? Or is there something that really gets you excited? Or is there something about the market that really annoys you, that you go, okay, well, actually, there's nothing for these people? Because then you can build something that's your thing rather than the same as everyone else. The next one is their struggles. You want to look at, you've got these people, what's their problem? What is it that they're struggling with? What is it that they go, oh, I want help in this? What is it that's their pain? What is it that they struggle? What is it that makes them a client? What is it that makes them part of your environment, that you say, this is the environment that I'm working with, these are the people, they have these pains, these struggles, and they want this kind of solution. And the last one is mindset preferences. So sometimes within a certain area of the market, those people have a particular mindset way of being. And that could really kind of give you some ideas in terms of how you're going to get your message across to these people, because they have something that is the same for the way that they think. So for example, particularly within our world, one of the mindset things might be, do you know what, the majority of people have been through lots of different services and feel like they're stuck and they have to experience this forever. That's their mindset, that's where they're at. And if you know that, then hey presto, when you put a Facebook post out, that's the wording. That's what you want to say. Do you feel like you're stuck? Have you seen 20 therapists and not found the answer? You're talking to those people because you know that that's what their mindset is and where they are. So if we don't look at, what makes these people, what is it about these people in terms of their preferences? It might be that one of the preferences that you come up with is they're very, they're almost kind of doom and gloom people, that's something that's kind of prevalent within those people. Well, in that case, like, the titles of your programs suddenly become a little bit easier, because the title of your program might be something like, End the Doom or something, because that's the thing that is where they are. So without looking at these three things, we don't know what our environment is. We don't know the environment that we're playing in. And we need to know that in order to be able to create a structure that answers those markets. And what happens then is, if you have 50 quid to spend, you're then looking at, how can I spend that 50 quid for these people who feel this way, who have this problem in this place? And suddenly your 50 quid goes a long way. And suddenly that marketing of what you're going to do and where you're going to do it becomes a lot clearer. Okay, so number 2 is in the environment. And we need to keep hold of the foundations. So there's no point looking at the environment and then going, ooh, actually, there's this idea in the market, but it doesn't match my passion at all. Like, no, you have to keep that foundation there, and they all have to be the jigsaw pieces that match. So this is really important as well. Steps of awareness. So this is how people naturally kind of progress. There's a point where they're unaware. They're unaware that there is a problem. They're blissfully unaware. If we market to people who are unaware, you are wasting your money, because they don't know that they've got a problem. So you might as well just tip your money down the drain. There's no point. What happens then is they become problem aware. So they become aware of a problem. They become aware that there is something that is a problem. So I'll use my own example. So back in 2009, I was in a corporate job and I made myself incredibly sick with the whole TMS world. Got diagnosed with IBS, fell into a pool of symptoms. There was a part where I was unaware. There was a part where I was just blissfully getting on with my life and I was not aware that there was a problem. The first thing that I noticed was, oh, there's a problem. And I became aware of the problem. The next thing that happens is we Google and we Google and we Google because we want the solution. So we become aware that there is a solution. So we start looking at, okay, I've got this problem, kind of, you know, what's the solution? After we have researched the solutions, we then become aware of product. So then we become aware that there is a product out there that matches that solution to that particular problem. And then we become the most aware, and that's where we probably reach out to somebody and say, actually, you know, I'm interested in this particular product. Now, knowing these steps gives you lots of options because you want to look at that environment. We're still on step 2. We're still looking at the environment. There's different things that you can create for people at different parts of this journey. So when you look at your structure and you're creating pieces, you might create a piece that's actually for somebody who is problem aware, but they're not yet product aware. And I think this comes into a lot of the practitioners ask questions around, how do I introduce these topics to my clients? Okay. And the answer is usually because you're going in at product aware, saying this is a product, and they might only just be at problem aware. They're only just realizing that they've got a problem. So you saying, well, this is this solution, they go, what? It's a mismatch. I don't even know that. I've only just realized that this thing is a problem. I haven't even gone through these steps yet. So your solution, your product that you're offering me, I can't even compute that that's a thing right now. Whereas if you went to them and said, well, actually, what I have created is I've created this, I don't know, blog post or something that talks about all the possible solutions, they might go, oh, that's exactly what I need, because that's where they're at. They're looking at solutions. They're not at product. Okay. So steps of awareness is really useful in terms of marketing and looking at what pieces you're going to create and who you're going to create it for. And we'll come back to this and we'll start piecing it all together as we go along. Okay, moving on to number 3. So structure then. So this is where we keep the foundations and we keep the environment and we start building a structure. So at the bottom, you want lots of people and you want to create something that's packed with value. And the more you go up this structure, the higher your price gets. And the more people get to know, like, and trust you. So the challenge that a lot of therapists have is they don't have enough people looking at this lower level, which allows them then to convert into the higher levels. Now, I've read a lot of books about marketing and a lot of books around online learning, a lot of people who are very, very successful. So quite a few who are millionaires, billionaires, those kind of people. And they still convert at 1%. So even though they have a whole team of people doing their marketing for them, even though they have years of experience of using these kinds of strategies and funnels, they still convert at 1%. Okay. Now it goes up to 5% from the stage. So if you're on stage, if you're delivering something live on stage, your conversion rate is probably more about 5%. But if you're looking at online content and online, solutions, you'll convert at about 1%. And that's not you being rubbish. That's an industry fact. So if in your time and money you need a few people, so say we're talking about therapy work and you're offering your services at, I don't know, £60 for your hour one-to-one, if you don't have at the bottom 100 people to get one. So you need 100 people at the bottom of your funnel to get one person at the top of your funnel. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but I certainly for years didn't work on those kind of figures. So what happened then is you might go out with something that gets 3 or 4 people interested and none of them actually sign up. And then you go, oh, well, I'm really rubbish because none of them wanted what it was that I was offering. Well, 1% of 3 isn't very many. We need the higher numbers, those lots of people at the bottom, so that your 1% conversion works. So the bottom, we want lots of people and we want it packed with value. And then 1% of those people commit to the smaller pieces, and that confirms the impact that you're going to have. So we're kind of taking people through this journey to start off with. I don't know you. I don't know whether you're an expert. I don't know if I like you yet or not. I need to do something that allows me to kind of get to know you a little bit. And then I think, oh, actually, she's really good, but I'm not sure whether this is for me. Perhaps this is the right solution, or perhaps it's not. Oh, actually, they have this little course and it's only 20 quid. Oh, I could do that. Oh, actually, that was really good. And I have seen some changes. I have seen some difference. That was really good. Actually, do you know what? I really could do with some support. I'm willing to pay the higher fee. And then they book into your few people high impact service. So you want the price to kind of be low at the bottom to get people in, and that doesn't necessarily have to be free, and we'll go into that in a minute. It doesn't necessarily have to be free, but you want to kind of be something that you can put out to a lot of people, something that's packed with value and something that's a low price so that they can get involved. You then want something that's smaller pieces that they can confirm the impact, get to know you a little bit, warm up to you. And then you want to say, okay, well, if you're interested, here's my high value ticket item, which in our case is usually some kind of coaching package, consultancy fee, that kind of thing. But know that only 1% of the people that you start off with will ever get to the point where they sign up to your consultancy fee. So this is where it all starts kind of fitting together. So you've got the time and the money at the bottom. You've decided how much you want to work, how many hours you want to work for what kind of money. And that dictates kind of how you might start using online things, because you don't want to spend all of your time and effort at the bottom of the funnel. You want to kind of spend your time with the few people at the top of the funnel, because they're the ones that are spending money with you. They're the ones that are your higher price people. So you could use online content then to automate some of the smaller pieces, because then that would free up time for you to spend with those higher paid clients. But we need all this to start fitting together. So we need to look at, okay, I want to work with these passions and I want to work in this kind of way because that's what I really like doing. I want to do that for these people in this market for this reason, and they have a kind of preference in this way. And then I can create products at each of these levels. So I can look at the steps of awareness and say, okay, I'm going to create something for lots of people. So if I give you an example, and Georgie's more than happy for me to explain kind of what she does and how she does it. We do this for Georgie. Georgie didn't create the Mind Body Wellness series just because off the top of her head we went, what would be a great thing to do? Let's just do this. It takes Georgie an hour of her time each week to do that video. We wanted to make it so that it's people who are already kind of solution aware. They're already at that point. We already know what the environment is and who she's going for. And we make it free, because obviously she wants to help in the whole COVID-19 pandemic. But actually, if we're going to choose that as part of our structure, this bottom bit, we're looking at getting lots of people, packing it with value for people who are solution aware in the market for this reason. And then that's the way in which we create it. There is no point us saying we're going to create something for free for people who are solution aware and it takes Georgie 10 hours a week, because that's not matching the time and the money. It's not matching the structure in terms of what we're doing. So smaller pieces, if we're looking at then saying, okay, what would she do with that? Well, she would take the lots of people that have signed up to the Mind Body series because it's free, and then she'd say, okay, well, actually, I've got these resources. So an audio might help, a meditation audio might be included that you buy, that's a tenner. Or you might say, actually, I've got this strategy that you can use, and that's another little thing. Or you could say, well, I've got this piece that's all around journaling. I've created this smaller course that's 30 quid and it's all around journaling. So if you're interested in journaling, then it's something that's a little bit more in depth. It's a little bit more of her. It's a little bit getting to know her. And ultimately then you're saying, okay, well, if you're interested, sign up to her health analysis review, and then she'll talk to you about her one-to-one services. So her one-to-one services are then a high price item. They're for people who really want the one-to-one time, who want that kind of dedication, but equally are willing to pay her the money, because then she can match her time and money balance. Okay? Appreciate it's quite a lot in here. Okay, so that's number 3. So we've got a great foundation, we've got our environment sorted, and we've got our structure. We then want the roof, okay? So many people don't do this. So the roof is about testing it, reviewing it, and refining it. Now, what I see so much of therapists doing is they put something out, they get 2 people signed up, and they go, well, that was a waste of time, I won't do that again. And then they go on to another idea, okay? So much is about testing it, reviewing it, and refining it, because it might not be the idea that was the problem. It might have been the picture that you used, or the title that you gave it, or the wording that you used, or the people that you put it out to might not have necessarily been just the right people. So stop throwing the baby out with the bathwater and thinking that all your ideas are rubbish because the first time that you did it, it wasn't that great. Okay, it takes that test, review, and refine to make those ideas work. And you might want to look and say, okay, well, I put that out, but actually the marketplace that I put it out to, I want to test it on 3 different places to see which one's a better fit. Or you might say, well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create I'm going to put it on Facebook, but I'm going to put it on in 3 different ways and see which one gets the highest engagement, because then I can use that going forwards and know what works and what doesn't work. And you want to start thinking about that 1% conversion rate. So many times you've gone out to like 20 people and nobody signed up, and you go, oh, well, that was a rubbish idea. I'll start all over again and I'll do something else. It's like, well, the idea was great. You just didn't go out to enough people. So if you go out to a bigger audience, if you put a bit of an advert spend behind it, you could see it then if it converts at 1%. So the roof part of it is what most people don't do at all. They kind of do something, think that it fails, and then not do it again. So test, review, and refine is really important, because it's not necessarily the idea that's wrong or you that's wrong. You've got to play with these things. So this is it all in one place, okay? All on one slide. So we've got 4 pieces. You've got your foundations at the bottom. You've got your environment with your steps of awareness. You've got your structure in the middle that goes from lots of people that's a smaller price up to the few people that's your impact. And you've got your roof that is testing, refining, and reviewing things. Now, all of that together is what informs you as to what pieces you're going to create, why you're creating them, in what way you're creating them, and therefore leads to a strategy funnel that is successful, rather than you thinking, oh, what shall I do now? I know, I'll do one of them challenge things. And you put it together. Why? Why? Where's that leading to? Who's that for? What's your reason for doing that? What's the follow-on from that challenge? Where are you taking them after they've done that challenge? And are you looking at refining it and testing it and all those kinds of things? Or are we just creating stuff and hoping that it's the right stuff to create? Okay, so online technology explained. Okay, so now we've got a structure. Now we've got our funnel, if you like, our structure. What you're going to do then is you're going to say, okay, this is what I want to create. This is the level of my funnel that I want to create it at. And that suddenly starts giving you an idea about what technology you might need in order to create those pieces. So instead of going out and going, oh my gosh, there's all this technology and I've got to learn all of it, you might not need all of it. You might only need some very specific pieces. So you want to kind of go out and say, okay, so let me just go back. So you might want to say, I want to create something that's for a lot of people because it's at the bottom of that funnel. I want it to kind of take, in terms of my time and my money balance, in order to get kind of 2 clients that are paying me full whack at the top, I need kind of 200 people at the bottom. I need it to be something that's juicy. And you might say, okay, an ebook would be a really good option because then people can download the ebook. And I'm going to work at the minute. I want to kind of take people from their awareness point of saying, I understand that there's solutions. I want to understand what products there are. So you might kind of, that's the ebook that you're gonna make. This makes it a lot easier. So there's two kinds of technology. There's certain technology that allow you to create the content, and there's certain technology that allows you to share that content with your customers. Some technology does both. Some only does one or the other. And then down the side, you can do it live. So this is live. I'm with you here in the now. It's live, and you can have audio and videos. You can have it recorded. So you can have it where something that you've created, you've recorded it, and then you share it afterwards. And then you can have documents and images. And here's a list of different technology that does all of those things. So if you're using live, a lot of people like live because you are creating the content and sharing it with your customer at the same time. So I'm creating this content right now, and I'm sharing it with you at the same time. There isn't an additional process for me to do in order to take this and share it with people because I'm sharing it with you now. If you want to record audio or visuals, so things like Zoom, for example, we're recording this. So here, what I'm doing is I'm creating the content live, talking to you live. I'm sharing it with you as a customer live, but I'm also recording it. So I would then have the file as a recorded file that you could do something with. The difference is with that is if I have the recorded file, I now need another piece of software to actually share that file with the customer. So that's where the other side comes in. So you might take that recording, for example, and then load it onto a mail option, something like Aweber or MailChimp, or you might use YouTube and share it that way, or you might use Thinkific, which is or MemberVault. Those two are course platforms, or you might put it on Facebook, or you might put it on your website. So there's lots of different ways that you can then take the content that you've created and share it with your customer. Loom is another one. Loom's got a great free function, and it can record your screen and you at the same time, which is quite nice. But again, all it's doing is creating the content. You then have to take it from Loom and put it somewhere to share it with people. And then you could use your Aweber or all the other options that are on the other side. Equally, documents and images. So if you're creating something, you could create it in PowerPoint, you could create it in Word, you could create a Canva image, you could create a website, blog, those sorts of things. But you then need to share it. So then you might use a technology like your Aweber to then share it with your customers. So I think people get a little bit confused with the technology over what they're using and why they're using it, because they think, okay, I'm going to create it in this technology, but then what do I do with it? And sometimes you need a different technology to actually send it to people or to get it out there to people than you do to actually create it. Hope that makes sense. like I say, this is recorded, so you can go back over this if you wish to. Okay, so let's go through an example. So say you say, okay, right now, one of you in the chat said, it's awareness. You don't have that many people on your list. You don't have that many people that are connected to you. So if that's you, or if that's kind of where you're at, number one, my question would be, have you got your foundations? So do you know kind of what you're passionate about? What's the way that you're doing it? Have you worked out your time and your money? Because that will give you some flavors. And do you know what kind of preferences you like, what sort of stuff you like to do? Next step, have I got my environment? Do I know who it is within this world that I'm working with? Who's the market? What's in the market? What is it that you want to do in terms of that market? How is it that you want to create something? What kind of struggles are those people having? And kind of, is there anything that is a way that they do it? And are you working at a certain point? So do you want to create something that's, you know, that kind of people for awareness piece, something like a solution aware piece would be quite nice. And then you say, actually, do you know what I need? I need eyeballs, because at the minute I don't have enough people in my world. So you go, okay, I want to create something for lots of people. I want to create something that's packed full of value. It's going to be at low price range. It's going to be about talking about the different solutions that are out there. And I don't need this at the minute. I've got quite a bit of time, so I could probably do something like a video series that then I could create 3 videos that are about the different solutions, and I could say to people, hey, I've got this free video series that you can sign up to, which goes through all the different solutions for what, depending on what environment you pick. So you might say, I'm really passionate about people who have got anxiety. I want to, particularly in the market, there's loads of people that help with anxiety in this way, but that's not helping these people. So it might be that you say, actually, I want to work with people who are teachers who have anxiety, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. I really want to make a difference in that area. So I'm going to create something that's a video series about all the solutions to anxiety for teachers. And then that's the title. You've created video, overcoming anxiety for teachers. And I want to create 4 videos. So what I'm going to do is, because it's lots of people, I don't want to do it live. I want to do it recorded. So you might use something like Loom, for example, record your video, and then you might use your mail function, your Aweber, your MailChimp, to then send those videos out to those people. So then you think, okay, there's anxiety for teachers, loads of people, I'm going to go out for loads of people for that. How am I going to do that? I'm going to use Facebook, and I'm going to do some adverts on Facebook to teachers about anxiety, get lots of people involved in that. And then after that, they may be interested in some meditation. So then I've got a package of meditation audios which they can buy, which are 25 quid that they can buy. And people who are really like me and interested are going to buy those meditations. And then at the end of the meditation series, I'm then going to put a screen in offering them to say, if you're still struggling and you need more help, book a free one-to-one with me. Here's the link to book a free one-to-one. I'd then have a chat, and then out of those people, I will get 5 people out of all of that. Because of the 1%, I'll get 5 people out of that would then be my one-to-one clients, and that money would match my foundations of the time and money that I want to spend. Boom, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let me stop sharing just to look at time. Any questions at this point? I'm just going to take a couple of minutes just to ask questions. Pop them in chat, and then I'll have a look at them. And if I don't get what it is that you're asking me about, I can always unmute you, and we can have a quick chat. I've probably got time. Just aware of time. It's coming up for a couple. So, does it cost more to share videos on MailChimp? No, it doesn't, because ultimately what you're doing is you're recording the video, and then you're paying for MailChimp. MailChimp have a free option. but they also have a paid option. So then what you would do is, it depends on what features you want. And I do have a course all about MailChimp. So if you want to know more about MailChimp, you can have a look at that. And my MailChimp course is free, so you can, by all means, have a look at that. But basically, you'll pay for MailChimp, and then MailChimp will give you the chance to create a list of people and a sign-up form. So then you would create your sign-up form, and you would then put the videos that you've recorded into your email system and send them to people via that. But it doesn't cost you more to share videos. It just costs you to pay for the system of MailChimp to use it. How do you get your list of teachers, for example, to send the videos to via MailChimp? So that's where your advertising would come in. So you would use your Aweber or MailChimp or whatever. On those two services, there's an option to create a sign-up page. So that's the bit where you're saying, you know, put your name and put your email address in. So what you would do is you'd create that sign-up page on your mail system, and then you would do a Facebook advert. You'd put a post all around that client. So from their preferences, you know who they are, you know what they want, you know what market you're going for. So you'd create a post that really appeals to them and say, I've put together this video series that's talking about all the different solutions for anxiety and giving you the pros and cons of each one. I'd love you to take part. Here's the link if you want to take part. And you'd put your link to your sign up form. And then they'd sign up. And then you've already created in MailChimp the videos, you've recorded them already, and you've lined them up in MailChimp to go out. So when they sign up, your MailChimp would then deliver those videos to them. Okay, so let me just go back and share my screen again. I appreciate with all of this that it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot to take on board, and with all the different sections. I hope I've made it easy, but I do know that it's probably created more questions than it has answered in terms of kind of, how do I do this then? How do I actually build that for my business? So I'm doing a strategy masterclass, which is on the 23rd of May. It's a whole day. And what I'm going to do on that day is I'm going to kind of, I only want maybe 8 to 10 people, and that's really the maximum for that day, because I want to work with those people and kind of put their structure together and work through their specific businesses, and help them up to build that for themselves. So I'm doing that on the 23rd of May, which is a Saturday. If you want some more information about it, it's all on my website, which is builditbrilliant.co.uk, and then /strategy-masterclass. And you can go there and you can read all the information about what's going to be covered in the day and those kinds of things. Because I am kind of part of Serpa and we're a lovely little crew, the price of the day is 147, but what I've done is I've created a discount code, which is Serpa 15. In fact, I've just realised that I need to just add that code. So give me 10-15 minutes after this, and I will I'll add that code because I've not actually set it up. But yeah, if you are part of Serpa, then you can have 15% discount on that price, so that I'm, you know, giving you a little bit of a to our little Serpa community. So yeah, stop sharing. Okay. I'll just go back to questions just in case somebody needed a minute. How do you know how many people you've reached? Is Facebook Business Manager useful? So yes, it depends on what you're using. So this is the bit where you might want to use different marketing because you want to get out to people. If you're creating something at the bottom of that funnel, your biggest thing that you want to do is people. So you might use Facebook, you might use LinkedIn, you might use kind of social media, but you might also use your website, and you might, so people are going to come in from different places, and each of those places have different analytical tools. So you can drown yourself in analytics, which I don't, because it's a bit boring. But at least afterwards, when you're putting the roof on it and you're saying you're reviewing, what you want to do is you want to go to each of the places that you used for your marketing and kind of say, okay, well, how many people looked at it here, and how many people looked at it here, and how many people looked at it here? And there's tools to help you do that. So Facebook, the one reason why people like Facebook is because it's easy in terms of the ability to segregate the market in your advertising is really, really small. And the reporting function is already there, so you don't have to do anything else. If you want to do that, you can then what they call use a Facebook pixel, which then tracks the links to your website and things like that, and it starts getting a little bit in depth and a little bit confusing. But basically what you want to do is say, this particular thing that I've got, these are the ways that I'm going to market it. And then when I've got a roof, one of the things you could do, which is the easiest way, is all the people that have signed up, put one of the boxes, how did you hear about this? And then they'll tell you, and then you don't have to go off using all these analytical tools. You can just look what they put in the box. So, you know, your sign up form for your MailChimp, Aweber, whatever it is that you're going to use, just add a box that says, how did you hear about this course? So that would help. Okay, let me kind of unmute you all. I know we're going to get a bit of background noise now, but okay. Was that useful?
Yes, very. Thank you. Yeah,
Fantastic.
to the point where I lost my internet for a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the recording.
We have recorded it, and it will be on the old members group. And if you're not a member and you've paid for it, then we'll send it out to you. So either way, you will get the recording, and then you can keep going back over it. And it does take a little time to go over it and think, right, hang on, have I got this bit? What about that bit? How am I building this bit? But I think what it does is it stops you from creating loads of content, being a busy fool, having all these different systems, doing all these different things, and nobody actually getting anywhere or leading anywhere to anything. I want you to be really building a system and a strategy, and then you know what you're creating, why you're creating it, who you're creating it for, and where you're leading those people to, so that then you can get that money at the end. If you're talking about saying you've got a big price at the top, your coaching program, you want to make sure that people are paying you that money for those bigger prices, and that's where you're spending your time. So like I say, appreciate that there's a hell of a lot in there in terms of stuff, and if I can help you anymore, then you know, by all means, have a look at the masterclass.
I think the most important thing, it seems to me, is to actually be really clear. It's the beginning, it's the foundation, about being really clear about what you want to, how you want to help people, what you actually want to do. I was thinking earlier this morning, it's like just, it's all great getting all this information, but until you've got that kind of, you can get passionate about that one angle or that one thing that's really what you want to do, it's not going to work. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, if you look at like Georgie's thing, the reason, I mean, she's been doing it for 10 years, so don't any of you look at what Georgie's doing and think, oh gosh, I can never do that, because she's 10 years further down the line. It takes time to build audiences, it takes time to build products, it takes time to go out to people and to keep warming them up, and all the biggest thing that she does is kind of look at that bottom bit and say, you know, what things can I do for that bottom bit to just get people interested? And I think one of the biggest mistakes people do is they put too much of their expertise, if you like, into the bottom bit. It kind of, they kind of go, oh, I want people, so they kind of give everything away, and then you've nowhere to go with it. So if you look at kind of the stuff that she does, she might do a talk, but her talk isn't around all the strategies and all the inside out of everything. Her talk is usually around, you know, the evidence behind it, or she does a talk that's about, you know, a particular part, because I know that when people are at that stage, they're not at most aware. They're at that beginning of understanding. So the solutions want to match where they're at. And we don't want to create something that takes a hell of a lot of her time when we're not getting the money for the time. And I think when you're first starting off, you've got time, so therefore you kind of fall into this pit of doing things that take you a lot of time, which isn't a sustainable structure in the long term, because you don't have enough time to keep that going. And I see that so much with kind of Facebook groups and things like that, that they take a lot of time, and it doesn't necessarily match in terms of the structure.
I suppose things change as you go along, so you have to take that first step and then hear what people are wanting. People will be telling you which ways, maybe what they're looking for as well.
Yeah, and the market changes.
Yeah.
And you might sort of look and see the market and create something, and then go, oh, actually, people don't do that anymore. People want this. You have to kind of constantly be checking the market of what's going on to say, where can I structure my things that I want to do.
Yeah, and I think we find our own feet as well. As you work with people, you find where the people that you like working with, or the people that you don't, sort of really click with, or the types of presentations that suit you better. That's where we need to talk soon, Zoe.
It is a loop, and everything goes together. And sometimes you try something, and like I said, it's just about refining. It just may be about, oh, actually, I didn't want to work with those people. I want to work with these people. Or actually, I like this element and not that element. And that doesn't necessarily mean that what you've created is completely pointless, useless. So you can't do it. It might be that you just need to kind of tweak it a little bit and play with it. Anyway. Time. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.
I found that useful.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Zoe.
Really
good. So much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. And if you wouldn't mind, if you could drop me an email at zoe@builditbrilliant.co.uk, because it's the first time that I've run this, and it's the first time that I've shared this strategy and kind of come up with it in this way. So if you could drop me an email, if you've got a couple of minutes, just to let me know, was it useful? Was there any bits that you thought, what the hell is she talking about? Was it too in depth? Was it all right? Just give me a little bit of feedback, and then I can know whether the next time that I do this, I can make some tweaks and changes and make it even better. That would be much appreciated.
Okay.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Bye.